mga sasakyan sa isang highway sa Saudi Arabia.
Alamin po natin ang naging sanhi ng insidente dito sa daang ito mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Biyernes ng gabi.
Aral Act, isa ng ganap na batas.
Vice President Sara Duterte binatikos ang pamumuno ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Hamas leader Ayawa Sinwar napatay ng puwersa ng Israel.
Supermoon ngayong buwan ng Oktubre, inabangan ng mundo.
At Harvard scientists nag-develop ng artificial intelligence para sa cancer diagnosis. Pirmado na ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang Academic Recovery Accessible Learning o ARAL bilang isang ganap na batas.
Layo ng ARAL Law na mapunan ang naging learning gap sa edukasyon sa bansa dahil sa nagdaang pandemya.
With the signing of the ARAL Law, we embark on a definitive journey to champion the right of every Filipino child to quality education, ensuring as well that it is accessible to all. At the heart of this law lies a steadfast commitment to a free and effective learning intervention for our learners from kindergarten to grade 10 within our public education system. It is available for those who are...
Sa ilalim ng ARAL, magkakaroon ng isang National Learning Intervention Program ang Pilipinas na nakadisenyo para tulungan ang mga mag-aaral para makahabol sa kinakailangang standards sa kanilang grade levels. Aplikado ang ARAL program sa mga mag-aaral ng K-10, partikular na sa mga nagbabalik-aral, nasa below minimum proficiency levels ng reading, mathematics at science, gayon din ang mga bumagsak sa mga exams at tests batay sa ebaluasyon ng kanilang guro sa naging school year. Samantala, pinuri naman ni Education Secretary Sonny Angara ang pagiging batas ng ARAL Law. Sinabi ng kalihim, makatutulong ang ARAL program para maibalik ang momentum ng mga mag-aaral at makamit ang learning milestone na kanilang kailangang makamit.
Inihayag ng World Health Organization o WHO na tumaas ang bilang ng mga namamatay sa Pilipinas dahil sa pagkalunod. Sinabi ni WHO Director of Health, Environment and Population Dr. Hiromasa Okayasu, karamihan sa mga biktima nito ay mga bata. Hindi man nagbigay ng tiyak na bilang sa kasalukuyang bilang ng nasasawi sa bansa ang kinatawan ng WHO, subalit batay sa pinakahuling data, nasa 42,539 na ang injury-related deaths. Kung saan 27,258 naman sa mga ito ay unintentional injuries, kabilang po dyan ang pagkalunod. Taong 2021, nakapagtala ang WHO ng estimated 300,250 drowning-related deaths at batay po sa pag-aaral. Itinuturing bilang third leading cause ng unintentional injury death ang pagkalunod. Tiniyak naman ni Dr. Okayasu na nakikipagtulungan ng WHO sa Department of Health ng Pilipinas upang makapagbalangkas ng isang multi-sectoral plan for drowning prevention sa bansa.
Nagpositibo sa paralytic shellfish poisoning o nakalalasong red tide ang mga shellfish sa isang lalawigan o ilang lalawigan sa Visayas at sa Mindanao. Ayon sa Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources of BFAR, hindi ligtas para sa pagkonsumo ng tao ang mga shellfish na makokolektas sa Dumangquillas Bay ng Zamboanga del Sur sa mga baybayin ng Daram at Sumaraga Island at ng Samar. Lalampas din sa regulatory limit ang toxic red tide na natagpuan sa mga nakolektang shellfish sa Irong-Irong Bay, Samar, Carigara Bay sa Leyte at sa Tungawan, Zamboanga, Sibugay. Ipinagbabawal din na magbenta o bumili ng mga shellfish na galing sa Biliran Island at sa Lianga Bay ng Surigao del Sur. Ang pagkain ng isang nakalalaso na shellfish dahil sa red tide ay maaaring makaapekto sa nervous system ng tao. Ilan sa sintomas ng red tide poisoning ay pananakit ng ulo, pagsusuka at pagdurumi. Nilinaw naman ng BFAR na ligtas kainin ng mga isda, pusit, hipon at alimango mula sa mga nasabing lugar basta't sariwa at hugasan ng mabuti ang mga ito. Payo pa ng ahensya, tanggalan din muna ng mga internal organs tulad ng gills at intestines ang mga pagkaing dagat nang sa gayon ay malinis ang mga ito bago lutuin.
Mariing kinukondena ng Pilipinas ang anumang aksyon na naglalagay sa panganib sa kaligtasan at seguridad ng mga United Nations peacekeepers sa Lebanon. Walang pangalang binanggit ang Department of Foreign Affairs o DFA sa naging pahayag nito, subalit pinatutungkulan nito ang kalagayan ng United Nations Interim Force o UNIFIL sa Lebanon. Ang UNIFIL ay inatasan ng UN Security Council na subaybayan ang tensyon sa pagitan ng Israel at Hezbollah sa Middle East. Hinimok ng DFA ang lahat ng mga miyembrong estado ng United Nations na itaguyod ang kanilang mga obligasyon sa ilalim ng international law. Binigyan diin ito na dapat tiyakin ng lahat ng miyembro ng UN na maisagawa ng UNIFIL ang kanilang mahalagang tungkulin. Anila ang mga paglabag sa peacekeeping mandates ay nagpapahina sa mga patakaran ng international order maging sa pagsisikap na magkaroon ng kapayapaan.
Tahasang inakusahan ni Vice President Sara Duterte si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na hindi raw ito marunong maging presidente. Sa isang press conference, hindi napigilan ng Vice Presidente na batikusin si Pangulong Marcos Jr. Giit ni Duterte ay wala siyang nakikitang plataporma ni Marcos na isa ring dahilan kaya nagbitiw raw siya bilang kalihim ng Department of Education.
Klaro na yan. Hindi ko kasalanan that we are on this road to hell. Hindi ko kasalanan kung hindi marunong. Kaya nga umalis ako, 'di ba, sa administration. Hindi ko na gusto yung mga naririnig ko doon. Hindi ko na gusto yung mga nakikita ko doon. I don't ever remember may platform siya na sinabi kung anong gagawin niya para sa bansang ito. Di niya sinabi ano ang gagawin natin sa food security. Wala siyang sinabi kung anong gagawin natin sa inflation na darating.
Nilinaw naman ni Vice Presidente Sara na wala siyang pinagsisihan sa pagtakbo niya bilang Vice Presidente noong 2022 elections. Ngunit binanggit niya na ginamit umano siya ng mga Marcos upang maipanalo ang eleksyon sa Visayas.
It was very straightforward. Now, it was all about winning, sinabi niya sa akin. So, of course, ginamit nila ako para manalo sila.
Sinabi pa ng Vice Presidente na inaatake siya ng ilang politiko kaya nabanggit niya kay Senadora Amy Marcos na ipahuhukay niya ang labi ni dating Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Sr. para ipatapon sa West Philippine Sea.
Hindi ko alam, pero isang beses sinabihan ko talaga si Senator Amy. Sabi ko sa kanya, kung hindi kayo tumigil, huhukayin ko yung tatay ninyo, itatapon ko siya sa West Philippine Sea. Sinabihan ko si Senator Amy. One of these days, pupunta ako dun, kukunin ko yung katawan ng tatay niyo, tapon ko yan dun sa West Philippine Sea. I don't think sumagot siya.
Good news naman po tayo. Para po sa mga motorista, matapos po ang big-time price hike sa magkasunod na linggo, ay asahan naman ang rollback sa produktong petrolyo sa mga susunod na linggo. Batay sa projection ng Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau, posibleng mabawasan ng 86 centavos ang presyo ng kada litro ng gasolina. 1 peso and 20 centavos posibleng kaltas naman sa presyo ng kada litro ng diesel. 1 peso and 3 centavos ang bawas sa kada litro ng kerosene. Ang rollback ay bunso ng nabawasang tensyon sa Middle East na nagresulta para mas maging mabilis ang delivery ng oil supply sa world market.
Susunod, Russia sinusubok ang kahandaan ng isang nuclear missile unit matapos ang kaparehong drills ng NATO.
Protesta sa Pakistan matapos ang pagkalat ng isang on-campus sexual assault sa isang babae, ating alamin.
At Hezbollah nagbabala sa Israel na palalakasin ang pag-atake matapos ang pagpaslang sa lider ng Hamas. Iba pang detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
The stars in the world of business joined us for a night of recognition and celebration at the Asia CEO Awards 2024. We're giving you, our beloved viewers, more highlights from this historic event with interviews from industry experts.
We talk about due diligence in a sense that do it right the first time and do it right until the last time.
We believe AI don't replace human talent. AI actually augment human talent.
Sustainability is thinking about how can we build a lasting business that will help contribute to a lasting world.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
NET25.
Are you a parent of a child with needs? You're not alone. Tune in to our heartfelt episode this week, Champions Love, Parenting Through Adversity, where we explore the challenges, triumphs, and everyday victories of raising special needs children. Dito lang yan, sa Ito Ang Tahanan, ngayong Sabado at Linggo, alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga, sa NET25.
Let's net together sa NET25.
Uy! Andyan pala kayo! Gusto nyo bang matuto ng mga nutritional food at easy recipe? Abangan ninyo kami tuwing alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga, Saturday and Sunday. Dito lang yan sa Ito Ang Tahanan.
Ipinagmalaki ng North Korea ang pagdami ng bilang ng mga mamamayan nilang nais na pumasok sa pagkasundalo. Kasunod ito ng naging akusasyon nila sa South Korea na nagpapakalat ng propaganda laban sa kanila. Ayon sa North Korea military, mayroong 1.4 milyon na mga kabataang binubuo na mga mag-aaral at youth league officials ang pumirma para makasali sa pagiging sundalo. Itinuturing ng North Korea na kaya dumami ang nais na pumasok sa pagkasundalo ay dahil sa ginagawang pagbabanta umano ng South Korea, US at ilang kaalyado nito. Mayroong batas sa North Korea kasi na dapat pumasok ang mga kalalakihan sa mandatory military service ng hanggang 10 taon.
Inanunsyo ng Ministry ng Ugnayang Panlabas ng China na dadalo si Pangulong Xi Jinping sa ika-16 na BRICS Summit na gaganapin sa Kazan, Russia mula Oktubre 22 hanggang 24. Sa kanyang pagbisita, makikilahok si Xi sa mga pulong ng mga lider at mga dialogo ng mga eksperto. Inaasahang magkakaroon ng malalim na palitan ng opinyon kasama ang iba pang mga lider tungkol sa kasalukuyang kalagayan ng pandaigdigang sitwasyon. Layunin ng China na palakasin ang kooperasyon sa pagitan ng mga bansang kasapi sa BRICS upang isulong ang pagkakaisa sa Global South at pagtulungan para sa kapayapaan at pag-unlad sa buong mundo. Inaasahang magbibigay daan ang summit na ito sa mas malalim na ugnayan sa pagitan ng mga bansang kasapi ng BRICS, kabilang na dyan ang Brazil, Russia, India, China at South Africa.
本次会晤中，习近平主席将出席领导人小范围、大范围会议、金专家领导人对话会等活动，并发表重要讲话，同各国领导人就当前国际形势、金砖务实合作、金砖机制发展以及共同关心的重要问题深入交流。中方愿同各方一道努力，推动大金砖合作行稳致远，开启全球南方联合自强的新纪元，共同促进世界的和平与发展。
Kasalukuyang sinusuri ng Russia ang kahandaan sa labanan ng isang unit na may Yars intercontinental ballistic missile sa hilagang kanluran ng Moscow. Sa ehersisyong ito, magsasanay ang isang unit sa pagpapagalaw ng mga Yars missiles na may camouflage at ang pagprotekta sa mga ito laban sa mga air attack at sabotage. Ang Yars ay may saklaw na hanggang 11,000 kilometro at kaya magdala ng maraming nuclear warheads. Maaari rin itong ilunsad mula sa mga silo o mobile launchers. Nagsimula ang pagsasanay na ito halos kasabay lamang ng taunang nuclear exercise ng NATO at isang buwan matapos ideklara ng Moscow na pinalawak nila ang listahan na maaaring magbunsod sa bansa sa paggamit ng mga nuclear weapons.
Ayon sa hepe ng NATO, hindi mawawala ang suporta ng NATO members sa Ukraine. Ani Mark Rota, noong Huwebes, nagkakamali si Russian President Vladimir Putin kung iniisip nito ang kasalungat. Narito ang report ni Michelle Verzonilla.
Sa isang press conference katabi si Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky sa Brussels, sinabi ni NATO Chief Mark Rutte na mahalagang patuloy na bigyan ng military aid ang Ukraine.
So NATO is working with Ukraine, bringing you ever closer to the alliance. And we are also working with other partners to bolster security for us all. Dear Volodymyr, it is great to have you here at NATO headquarters. I look forward to the day that Ukraine is here as a member of this alliance. And until then, we will continue to do all that we can to ensure Ukraine prevails. This is vital for our shared security.
Samantala, ipinaalala ni Zelensky na ang ilang pangako ng mga kaalyado noong Hulyo ay hindi pa natutupad. Anya, kailangan tuparin na ang mga ito sa lalong madaling panahon.
There are commitments made at the NATO summit in Washington in July, and we are still waiting for those commitments to be fulfilled, but we are thankful to our partners. It's very important to deliver on what is announced in support packages swiftly.
Dagdag ni Zelensky, ang lakas ng Ukraine ay nakasalalay sa pagkakaisa ng mga kaalyado nito.
Strengthening of Ukraine, it's not only depending on the weapon, this kind or that kind, it depending on the will. If our partners will not lose their unity, we will not lose.
And
This strength.
And we will not use that. We will not lose that unity.
It's
you
so
can count on
important.
that. And my message today to Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin is that if he thinks we will not. And today again is evidence. Look what the Australians have done, what the Germans are doing, what the US has done today. Again, announcing almost $500 million in anti-missile defense systems.
Michelle Verzonilla, para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected on point.
Nagtagumpay si Prabowo Subianto sa kanyang ikatlong pagtakbo bilang Pangulo at nakatakdang maging leader na ng Indonesia ngayong linggo. Si Si Prabowo ay nagmula sa isang kilalang angkang pampolitika at ang kanyang ama ay isa sa mga tanyag na ekonomista ng bansa na nagsilbi sa gabinete ng dalawang pangulo. Nag-aral siya sa American School in London at kumuha ng kursong militar sa Estados Unidos. Bilang isang 3-star Lieutenant General, inakusahan si Prabowo ng pagkakasangkot sa pagkidnap ng mga aktivista sa Papua at East Timor, bagamat hindi ito napatunayang totoo. Sa kanyang unang pagtakbo bilang pangulo, inangkin ni Subianto na may malawakang pandaraya sa eleksyon. At sa kanyang pangalawang pagtakbo naman, muli niyang hindi kinilala ang resulta ng halalan. Gayunpaman, sa pagkakataong ito, matagumpay niyang nabago ang kanyang imahe mula sa pagiging mainit na nasyonalista patungo sa isang charismatic statesman. Naging tanyag siya sa mga viral dance moves kasama ng isang cute at nakakaaliw na animated avatar at madalas siyang makita sa mga larawan kasama ang kanyang alagang pusa. Ngunit tanging panahon lamang ang makapagsasabi kung sapat na ang pagbabago ng kanyang imahe upang pamunuan ang mabilis na umuunlad na bansa ng Indonesia.
Dose-dosenang mga estudyante ang sugatan sa isang sagupaan laban sa pulisya dahil sa mga ulat ng sexual assault sa loob ng campus sa Pakistan. Nagsimula ang protesta sa campus ng isang pribadong kolehiyo sa lungsod ng Lahore sa lalawigan ng Punjab. Ngunit kalaunan ay nagtungo sila sa harap ng Provincial Assembly kung saan nagkaroon na ng sagupaan sa pagitan ng mga estudyante at pulisya. Nangyaring insidente kahit na itinanggi ng kolehiyo at mga magulang ng biktima na may naganap na pang-aabuso. Gayunpaman, karaniwang hindi inuulat ang mga kaso ng sexual violence sa Pakistan dahil sa takot sa stigma na nakapalibot dito, kaya't lumaki ang issue kahit wala pang panigurado sa balita. Iniimbestigahan na ngayon ng Federal Investigation Agency ng Pakistan kung totoo nga bang nangyari ang mga naturang insidente.
Iniulat ng Israel na napatay na ng mga sundalong Israeli ang leader ng Hamas na si Yahya Sinwar sa katimugang bahagi ng Gaza. Ayon kay Daniel Hagari, tagapagsalita ng Israeli Defense Forces, 3 armadong kalalakihan ang unang namataan ng mga sundalong tumatakbo mula sa bahay sa lungsod ng Rafah. Nang paputukan sila, naghiwa-hiwalay ang mga ito at madaling pumasok si Yahya Sinwar sa isang gusali kung saan nakita siya ng drone na nakaupo. Naantala ang kumpirmasyon ng kanyang pagkamatay dahil ikinumpara pa ang kanyang mga dental records at fingerprints sa mga impormasyon na nakuha ng Israel noong nakulong siya. Pinuri naman ni Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ang pagkamatay ng utak ng mga pag-atake noong Oktubre 7 na si Sinwar.
אזרחי ישראל, לפני שנה חגגנו את חג הסוכות. באותה עת בדיוק, יחיא סינואר עסק בהכנות האחרונות לטבח ה-7 באוקטובר. אני ניצב בפניכם היום כדי לבשר לכם שיחיא סינואר חוסל. מי שביצע את הטבח הנורא ביותר בתולדות עמנו מאז השואה, רב המרצחים שרצח אלפי ישראלים, חטף מאות אזרחינו, חוסל היום על ידי חיילינו הגיבורים. והיום, כפי שהתחייבנו לעשות, באנו איתו חשבון. היום הרוע ספג מכה קשה, אבל המשימה שלפנינו עדיין לא הושלמה. למשפחות החטופים היקרות, אני אומר, זהו רגע חשוב במלחמה. אנחנו נמשיך בכל הכוח, עד להשבתם הביתה של כל יקיריכם, שהם יקירנו. זו מחויבות עליונה שלנו, זו מחויבות עליונה שלי.
Handang paigtingin pa ng Hezbollah ang kanilang digmaan sa Israel dahil sa pagpatay nito sa pinuno ng Hamas na si Yahya Sinwar.
Today, the mastermind of this day of sheer evil is no more.
Hamas matapos mapatay ng Israeli military si political chief Ismail Haniyeh sa Tehran. Ayon sa mga Western leaders, ang pagpaslang sa naturang Hamas leader ay nagbubukas ng posibilidad sa pagsulong ng tigil putukan sa Gaza. Ngunit ayon naman kay Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ay wala itong planong tumigil hanggat sa hindi pa naisosoli ang mga hostage ng Hamas.
Yahya Sinwar is dead. He was killed in Rafah by the brave soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces. While this is not the end of the war in Gaza, it's the beginning of the end. To the people of Gaza, I have a simple message. This war can end tomorrow. It can end if Hamas lays down its arms and returns our hostages. Hamas is holding 101 hostages in Gaza, who are citizens of 23 countries, citizens of Israel, but citizens of many other countries. Israel is committed to doing everything in our power to bring all of them home. And Israel will guarantee the safety of all those who return our hostages. But to those who would harm our hostages, I have another message. Israel will hunt you down and bring you to justice.
Marami ng mga eksperto na nagsasabing ang pagpatay kay Sinwar ay maaaring magbunga sa paglawak o paglaki pa ng gulo sa Middle East. Sinabi naman ni US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, tumawag si President Joe Biden kay Netanyahu upang batiin siya sa kanilang matagumpay na operasyon laban kay Sinwar.
A few things about that. First of all, as you know, we've been trying to achieve a ceasefire that returns the hostages home, alleviates the suffering of the Palestinian people, and ends the war for many months now. And the chief obstacle to reaching that ceasefire and bringing it into the war has been Sinwar, who has refused to negotiate at all in recent weeks and has said no time and time again. That obstacle has obviously been removed. So you know the proposal that has been...
Dagdag pa nito na si Sinwar ay nagsilbing isang malaking balakid sa negosasyon sa pagitan ng Gaza at Israel para sa isang ganap na tigil putukan. Nagsalita naman ng Iran tungkol sa kanilang posisyon sa naturang insidente kung saan sila'y nanindigan sa kanilang misyon sa naturang rehiyon.
The axis of terror that was built by Iran is collapsing before our eyes. Nasrallah is gone. His deputy Muhsin is gone. Haniyeh is gone. Def is gone. Sinwar is gone. The reign of terror that the Iranian regime has imposed on its own people and on the peoples of Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, this too will come to an end. All those who seek a future of prosperity and peace in the Middle East should unite to build a better future. Together, we can push back the forces of darkness and create a future of light and hope for all of us.
Samantala, para sa displaced Gazans, hindi nangangahulugang matatapos ang labanan dahil napatay na ang lider ng Hamas na si Yahya Sinwar. Ituan nila ang resistance na hindi basta-basta na lamang mawawala. Bernhard Gonzaga po para sa balita.
Matapos makumpirmang napatay sa Israeli operation si Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, samot-saring reaksyon ang nagsulputan sa bawat panig. Para sa isang Gaza na nailikas ng ilang beses dahil sa labanan, ang resistensyang kalaban ng Israel ay hindi maglalaho kung mamatay ang mga lider nito.
المقاومة لا تزول بزوال الرجال واغتيال السنوار لن يفضي إلى توقف المقاومة أو إلى تنازل أو استسلام المقاومة ورفع الراية البيضاء. اغتيل قبل ذلك الشيخ أحمد ياسين واغتيل عبد العزيز الرنتيسي وصلاح الشحادة وإبراهيم المقادمة وفتح الشقاقي وياسر عرفات وأبا علي مصطفى والقائمة طويلة جدا من شخصيات وقيادة المقاومة الفلسطينية واستمرت المقاومة الفلسطينية. صحيح ربما يؤدي هذا الأمر إلى رفع رصيد نتنياهو السياسي لكنه لن يوقف المقاومة ولن يثني الشعب الفلسطيني عن مواصلة الجهاد والمقاومة حتى تقرير مصيره.
Sa pagpasok ng laban ng Hamas at Israel sa ikalawang taon, tila hindi naniniwala ang mga displays na maaaring ceasefire na ang kasunod ng pagkamatay ni Sinwar.
تلقينا قبل يعني ساعة أو ساعة ونص على مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي خبر اغتيال يحيى السنوار وبأنه خبر أنه اغتياله بأنه يعني ممكن يأثر على وقوف الحرب، لكن برأيي أنه مش حيأثر على وقوف الحرب، وخير دليل يحيى حسن نصر الله في حربه بلبنان اغتياله في أول الحرب واستمرت الحرب على لبنان، فأنا شايف أنه هذا مش حيوقف الحرب يعني على غزة إلا بعودة الأسرى الإسرائيليين إلى عائلاتهم، هذا هو حيكون سبب كافي لإيقاف الحرب، أما اغتيال يحيى السنوار مش حيأثر يعني لا حيقدم ولا حيأخر في وقوف الحرب على غزة.
Walang hupang pag-atake ang isinagot ng Israel sa Hamas attack noong 7 ng Oktubre 2024. Kapwa airstrikes at ground operations ang layuning wasaking ang Hamas. Bernhard Gonzaga para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, Connected. On point.
Nag-aalala ang mga Israeli sa Tel Aviv para sa natitirang hostages sa Gaza. Ito ay matapos kumalat ng balitang patay na nga si Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Si Sinwar ang nanguna ng pag-atake sa Israel ng Hamas noong Oktubre 7, 2023. Matapos ang ulat na patay na nga ang Hamas leader, walang opisyal na komento mula sa militanteng grupo. Ngunit ayon sa sources ng grupo, ang mga palatandaan ay kumukumpirma na si Sinwar ay napatay sa isang operasyon ng Israel sa lugar ng Tal El Sultan sa katimugang Gaza. Samantala, kinumpirma ng militar ng Israel sa isang post sa X na si Sinwar ay patay na nga. Para sa isang residente ng Tel Aviv at survivor ng October 7 attack ng Hamas, ikinababahala niya ang kinabukasan ng hostages na hanggang ngayon ay bihag pa rin sa Gaza.
I have a deep concern for the hostages. It's very difficult to find faith and hope. And I always think about what if that could have been me, it could have been my son that was with me. And the fact that the man responsible for the massacre is dead, as they say, if he is or not. I'm not sure what does it mean about our hostages and their safety and how many of them are still alive. And I'm very deeply concerned and worried.
Para naman kay Amiram na taga Tel Aviv din, maituturing mang tagumpay ang operasyon ito ng Israel, hindi tiyak kung ito ay makabubuti para sa mga bihag.
And we've just heard about this so far rumors about Sinwar getting killed in Gaza. It was nice to hear that. It was very successful operation if this is what happened. I certainly believe that this is a nice, it'll good for our pride, and we're proud of that. On the other hand, I have no idea how good this will be for the future events, if this will help in any way to release the hostages. I really hope that this is an opportunity that can be used to get the hostages out and
Sa kaugnay pa rin balita, kinumpirma ng pamahalaan ng Israel na patay na nga po si Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Kaugnay nito, sinabi ni Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hindi matatapos ang giyera sa Gaza hanggat hindi pinakakawalan ang mga bihag ng Hamas. Rosel Feria po para sa balita.
Ayon kay Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, maaaring maglapit ng kapayapaan ang pagkamatay ni Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Subalit nagbabala si Netanyahu na hindi matitigil ang labanan sa Gaza hanggat may natitirang mga bihag.
אני קורא לכל מי שמחזיק בחטופינו, מי שיניח את נשקו וישיב את חטופינו, נאפשר לו לצאת ולחיות. ובאותה מידה אני אומר, מי שיפגע בחטופינו, דמו בראשו, נבוא איתו חשבון. השבת חטופינו היא הזדמנות להשגת כל יעדינו, והיא מקרבת את סיום המלחמה. לעמי האזור אני אומר, בעזה, בביירות, ברחבי האזור כולו, החושך נסוג והאור עולה.
Kinumpirma ng Israel na napatay nito si Sinwar sa isang operasyon sa Gaza. Ang pagkamatay ng leader ng Hamas ay hudyat ng malaking pampalakas sa Israeli army at kay Netanyahu. Ito ay matapos ang sunod-sunod na high-profile assassinations kamakailan ng mga prominenteng leader ng mga kalaban nito. Nanawagan si Netanyahu sa mga may hawak ng hostages. Anya, hahayaan ng Israel na mabuhay ang magpapakawala ng mga bihag at magbababang armas. Ngunit sino man anya ang manakit sa hostages ay tiyak na mamamatay.
יש בפנינו הזדמנות גדולה לבלום את ציר הרשע וליצור עתיד אחר. עתיד של שלום, עתיד של שגשוג באזור כולו. ביחד אנחנו יכולים להדוף את הכללה ולקדם את הברכה. כעת ברור לכולם, בארץ ובעולם, מדוע התעקשנו לא לסיים את המלחמה. מדוע התעקשנו מול כל הלחצים, כן להיכנס לרפיח. המעוז המבוצר של החמאס בו הסתתרו סינואר ורבים מרבי המרצחים. היום שוב הבהרנו מה קורה לאלה שפוגעים בנו. היום שוב הראינו לעולם את ניצחון הטוב על הרע. אבל המלחמה, יקיריי, טרם הסתיימה, והיא קשה, והיא גובה מאיתנו מחירים כבדים.
Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Dumating na sa Berlin si US President Joe Biden upang talakayin ang Russia-Ukraine war kasama ang mga lider ng Germany, France at UK. Inaasahang isasama sa kanilang agenda ang oportunidad na maisulong na ang isang ceasefire sa Middle East ngayong napatay na ng Israel si Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Nakatakdang magsagawa ng isang dialogo si Joe Biden kasama si German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier at Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Ayon sa isang mataas na opisyal ng White House, layo ni Biden na talakayin ang iba't ibang paraan kung paanong masusuportahan ng parehong bansa ang Ukraine. Matapos ito, inaasang dadalo si French President Emmanuel Macron at British Prime Minister Keir Starmer sa pulong ng kanilang binansagang European Quad.
Tahasan pong umapila sa Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris sa Republican voters sa Pennsylvania hinggil sa eleksyon sa darating na Nobyembre. Myla Simbulan po para sa balita.
Dito sa Pennsylvania, binigyan diin ni Vice President at Democratic Presidential Candidate Kamala Harris ang pagtatangka ng kanyang kalabang si Donald Trump na i-overturn ang resulta ng eleksyon 4 na taon na ang nakalilipas. Ito ay namatalo si Trump kay Joe Biden. Ani Harris, sinalangsang ng mga aksyon ni Trump ang konstitusyon ng Estados Unidos at kung bibigyan ito ng pagkakataon ay uulitin ni Trump ang pagsalangsang.
I have sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution 6 times, including as Vice President, as a United States Senator, and as the top law enforcement officer of the largest state in our country. And I have never wavered from upholding that oath. And this is a profound difference between Donald Trump and me. He, who violated the oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and make no mistake, he who, if given the chance, will violate it again.
Higit sa 100 Republicans ang nakinig kay Harris sa Bucks County, kabilang na si Adam Kinzinger na dating congressman at miyembro ng komite na nag-imbestiga sa January 6 attack sa US Capitol ng mga taga-suporta ni dating Pangulong Trump.
And now, the baton is in our hands. So I am joined today by over 100 Republican leaders from across Pennsylvania and across our country, who are supporting my candidacy for President of the United States. And I am deeply honored to have their support.
Hinimok ni Harris ang Republicans na unahin ng bansa kaysa sa partido.
Now, I say all that to make an obvious point. In a typical election year, you all being here with me might be a bit surprising, dare I say unusual. But not in this election. Not in this election. Because at stake in this race are the democratic ideals that our founders and generations of Americans before us have fought for. At stake in this election is the Constitution of the United States, its very self. We are here today because we share a core belief that we must put country before party.
Batay sa pinakabagong poll, nangunguna si Harris sa may 46% labang kay Trump na may 43%. Myla Simbulan para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Araw po ng Huwebes ay nagbukas na rin ang polls para sa early voting sa North Carolina. Ang estadong ito ng US ay isang kritikal na battleground para sa nalalapit na November 5 election. Si Ana Pui para sa balita.
Ilang linggo lamang matapos hampasin ni Bagyong Helene ang North Carolina, marami sa mga residente nitong wala pang kuryente, tubig o serbisyo ng telepono ang nagtungo sa early voting sites. Ang North Carolina ay maaaring maging panukoy kung sino ang mananalong pangulo sa pagitan na Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris at former Republican President Donald Trump. Maaaring lumundo ang preferensya ng pagboto ng mga taga rito sa kahit anong panig. Batay sa polls, mahigpit ang labanang Harris at Trump at nakasalalay ang resulta sa swing states. Alamin natin ang saloobin ng ilan sa mga bumoto ng maaga sa Henderson County. Para kay Alan Clark, kuha ng Republicans ang boto niya. Ani Clark, isyong panlokal ang mahalaga para sa kanya.
I voted straight across the board Republican, voted for Donald Trump. Immigration, the economy, America first. You know, I feel that we should put the money where our mouths are here first instead of taking care of other nations. We need to take care of us first and then we can go out and help somebody else.
Para naman kay Desiree Porter, nabitbit pa ang kanyang 8 taong gulang na anak. Si Harris ang kandidato para sa kanya dahil sa posisyon nito para sa karapatan ng mga kababaihan.
So we voted for Kamala Harris for president. You know, we really care a lot about, you know, women's rights to choose. We really care about our children, making sure that they get a good and honest education. You know, yeah, and our, you know, keeping everybody having the availability to be able to vote. But that.
Sinabing dahil sa laki ng pinsala ni Bagyong Helene, maaaring maapektuhan ang pagboto ng mga taga rito. Subalit para kay Judy Bollock na isang retiree, hindi siya mapipigilang bumoto kahit ng kalamidad.
Oh man, that was a devastating experience to be without power for 11 days and then having to throw all of your food away and all of that. It was just an experience that I don't think any of us really expect the outcome in the end, how it affected us mentally as well as physically.
Ayon sa poll aggregator 538, mahigpit ang laban ni Trump at Harris sa North Carolina. Lamang si Trump na nasa 48% support, samantalang si Harris ay nasa 47.5% support. Ana Cui para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, 6 patay, 25 sugatan matapos tumagilid ang isang bus sa Turkiye.
Harvard scientists nakapag-develop ng isang AI na kayang magbigay ng cancer diagnosis.
At Rosé ng Blackpink at Bruno Mars naglabas ng bagong kanta. Mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Viral ngayon, guro na trending sa social media dahil sa pagtulong sa kanilang mga mag-aaral, makikilala na. Exclusive! Magulang ng pinaslang na international racer na si Enzo Pastor, nagparesponde na.
The way that he was killed heinously, 6 shots in the head, 1 in the heart.
Grupo ng mga kabataan na tumutulong sa pagsasaayos sa kanilang komunidad, ating kilalanin.
Yung mga ngiti po namin, after po namin magawa yung mga community service na ginagawa namin, sobrang saya.
Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi, ito ang Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan.
Let's get together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
Nagkarambola ang mga sasakyan sa isang highway sa Dammam, Saudi Arabia dahil sa makapal na fog. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, wala namang nasawi sa nasabing insidente, subalit maraming sasakyan ang nadamay. Hindi naman tinukoy ng mga otoridad ang bilang ng mga sasakyang nadamay sa karambola sa highway. Subalit, pinaalalahanan ng highway authorities ang mga driver sa lugar na bagalan muna ang pagmamaneho kapag napansing kumakapal na ang fog sa daan.
Patay ang nasa 6 na katao habang 25 naman ang sugatan nang tumagilid ang sasakyan o sinasakyan nilang bus sa Turkiye. Ayon sa mga otoridad ay patungo ang mga pasahero ng bus sa probinsya ng Balıkesir na isa sa pinakakilalang tourist destination ng bansa. Kasunod nito ay ang biglaang pagtagilid ng bus na naging dahilan para mawala ng kontrol ang driver nito. Agad isinugod sa ospital ang mga sugatang pasahero kung saan ang iba ay nasa malubhang kalagayan. Makikita naman sa ilang larawan at video ang basag at matinding pinsala na natamo ng bus. Samantala, iniimbestigahan na ngayon ng mga otoridad ang dahilan sa likod ng pagtagilid ng bus.
Hinuli ngayon ng 3 Amerikano at 2 iba pa sa Venezuela. Ito ay matapos silang iugnay sa posibleng terorismo. Kinilala ang 3 Amerikano na sina Aaron Barrett Logan, David Guttenberg Guillaume at Gregory David Werber. Ayon sa U.S. Attorney's Office, ay 3 taon na ang nakalipas nang mahatulan si Werber ng kasong money laundering. Ito ay matapos siyang masangkot sa libo-libong dolyar na Mexican drug cartel gamit ang mga Bitcoin.
Especialista en hackeo. Tienes Nacional Americana capturado. Tenés ahí en su teléfono, tenía datos de las instituciones y organismos a las cuales estaba operando hackeos directamente. Aaron Barrett Logan. Pasa el otro. Gregory David Weber. Otro hacker recibió la misión de realizar sabotaje cibernético en la infraestructura tecnológica de Venezuela. También en su teléfono tenía allí fotos de las operaciones que ellos estaban realizando. Y luego está el señor David Guttenberg Guillaume, americano, especialista en actividades paramédicos. Su misión era, mejor dicho, relacionada con prestar ayuda en caso de heridos en las actividades terroristas que ellos iban a tener. Este señor David Guttenberg Guillaume también fue detenido.
Naniniwala naman ang gobyerno ng Venezuela na sangkot ang mga nahuling tao sa Central Intelligence Agency na nasa likod ng mga aktibidad ng terorismo. Matatandaan din na pinalaya nila ang nasa 100 mga bilanggo noong 2023 kung saan kabilang ang 10 Amerikano. Kapalit nito ay pinalaya naman ng US ang pinakamalapit na kaalyado ni Maduro na si Alex Saab.
Pumasyal naman tayo sa Calgary, Canada kung saan naganap kamakailan ang sinasabing greatest outdoor show sa balat ng lupa. Dinumog ang kasiyahan doon sa kabila ng tindi ng init ng panahon. Alamin natin ang kwento mula kay Stephen Andrew Arevalo ng ating NET25 Calgary team.
Despite soaring, sweltering temperatures, many people are making it to this year's Calgary Stampede, which is back in full swing.
This 10-day event starts off with an opening parade that was filled with attendees lining up the streets of Calgary to witness different kinds of musicians, cowgirls on horseback, the Royal Canadian Air Force, bagpipe players, performers, and even ethnic minorities proudly displaying their culture in costume. Flooded with visitors and locals, this year's Stampede was a real hot one, as temperatures rose up to 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. But luckily, the construction of what is known as Western Canada's largest convention center, the BMO Centre, provided a shelter of an air-conditioned space to beat the sweltering heat. Of course, we're at the Stampede, so let's not forget about the midway that consists of rides and games. let's not forget about all the entertaining performances and acts at the Stampede that entertained both participating audiences and passersby. And of course, we can't forget all the wonderful food options.
What is the biggest highlight of Stampede so far?
For me?
Yes.
My biggest highlight would probably be this ice cream booth. I'm not gonna lie, I get ice cream all the time there on my breaks. I don't get to go around much. I kind of work here and there, and then I leave because I'm tired and my feet hurt. But I'd say also the big Ferris wheel is really cool.
Saving the best for last is the spectacular fireworks that light the sky every night of the Stampede. Truly a sight to see both on the grounds and from the air. Such an amazing time here at the Calgary Stampede. But I suggest you come check it out yourself if you get the chance to come here. These are just some of the food, events, and activities shown that happen here on the grounds. There's so much more to experience here at the greatest outdoor show on earth.
Stephen Andrew Arevalo para sa Mata ng Agila International, Calgary, Alberta. Trusted, connected, on point.
Namataan po sa kalangitan ng Munich, Germany ang supermoon na kilala sa tawag na Hunter's Moon kung saan inaabangan na marami ngayong buwan ng Oktubre. Ayon sa NASA, ito na ang pinakamalaking full moon at supermoon para sa taong 2024. Kasabay din ng Hunter's Moon ang pagkakataong malapit ang orbit ng buwan sa Earth. Ibig sabihin, mas malaki ang itsura ng supermoon para pagmasdan ng mga moon enthusiasts. Ang karaniwang distansya ng moon sa Earth ay nasa 406,000 kilometers at dahil po dito ay nasa layong 357,174 kilometers ito. Inaasahan ding nasa 7% na mas maliwanag ang Hunter's Moon ngayong October, ayon po yan sa pag-aaral ng NASA.
Nakapag-develop na isang artificial intelligence o AI ang mga siyentipiko sa Harvard Medical School na sinasabing may 94% accuracy sa cancer diagnosis. Tinawag ng Harvard Medical School ang AI model bilang Chief o Clinical Histopathology Imaging Evaluation Foundation. Ayon sa mga scientists, kaya ng chief na makadetect ng mga cancer cells at mag-predict ng isang tumor batay sa molecular profile nito mula sa cellular features na nakikita nito sa larawan ng tissue. Nakadisenyo rin ang chief para mag-predict ng maging benepisyo ng novel cancer treatment bilang karagdagan na rin sa mga standard treatments na matatanggap ng isang pasyente. Ang chief ay na-train gamit ang 15 million unlabeled images na pinagsama-sama sa isang section of interest para matukoy ang mga tissues. Dumaan rin ang chief sa training ng higit 60,000 whole slide images ng tissues. Kabilang dito ang lung, breast, prostate, colorectal, stomach, esophageal at iba pa. Kasalukuyang dumaraan pa rin sa maraming training ang chief para matukoy din ito ang mga rare diseases at mga non-cancerous na kondisyon.
Masayang sinalubong ngayon ng mga Army ang paglabas ng miyembro ng BTS na si J-Hope mula sa kanyang military service. Makikita sa video na masaya itong lumabas mula sa kampo kung saan ay sinalubong siya ng isa sa mga miyembro ng grupo na si Jin. Mapapansin din dito ang bulaklak na inihanda ni Jin bilang pagbati sa pagtatapos nito sa military service.
진짜 정말 1년 6개월 동안 느낀 건 정말 나라를 지키기 위해서 정말 많은 국군 장병분들이 이 노고와 이 헌신 정말 이 나라를 위해서 많은 것들을 하고 있으십니다. 그래서 그런 분들께 우리 국민분들께서 좀 뜨거운 관심과 사랑을 해주시면 더욱더 큰 의미가 되지 않을까라는 생각이 듭니다.
Kasama sa mga matagal na naghintay sa paglabas ay ang mga fans, reporters at pati na rin ang sundo nitong bodyguard. Dagdag pa rito ay nagpapasalamat din si J-Hope sa patuloy na pagsuporta at pagmamahal na ibinibigay ng fans sa kanilang grupo.
감사드리고 정말 큰 응원과 성원 그리고 사랑 주셔서 감사합니다. 건강하게 잘 전역했습니다. 감사합니다. 충성!
Samantala, pangalawa na si J-Hope sa nakapagtapos na military service mula sa 7 miyembro ng BTS, kung saan nauna namang natapos itong si Jin noong Hunyo.
Inilabas na ni Blackpink Rosé at Bruno Mars ang collaboration song nila na Apt ngayong araw. Kabilang ang pre-release single na Apt sa kauna-unahang studio album ni Rosé na nakatakdang ilabas sa December 6. Kasama sa mga dapat abangan sa album na Rosie ay ang 12 kanta na kanya ring isinulat. Nagmula ang inspirasyon ng pagbuo ni Rosé sa bagong kanta mula sa sikat na apartment game sa South Korea. Matatandaan naman na naglabas ng ilang larawan si Bruno Mars kasama si Rosé nitong Huwebes kung saan bida ang paglalaro nila ng apartment game. Samantala nitong Hunyo lamang ay pumirma ng kontrata si Rosé sa Atlantic Records bilang bahagi ng kanyang solo activities. Agaw pansin ngayon online ang video ng isang aso na nasa itaas ng sikat na Great Pyramid of Giza. Ikinagulat ng isang turista nang marinig ang tumatahol na aso mula sa itaas ng pyramid habang ito ay nagpa-paragliding. Matapos ito ay agad niya itong kinuhaan ng video na ngayon ay pinagkakaguluhan ng mga netizens. Umabot naman sa ilang libong views ang video nito na ibinahagi naman ng outdoor enthusiast na si Marshall Mosher. Dagdag pa rito ay umani ng iba't ibang komento ang video sa kung paanong napunta ang aso sa itaas at kung saan ito nagmula. Samantala, sinabi naman ng turista nang balikan niya ang pyramid ay nakababa na raw ng ligtas ang aso.
Inaabangan ngayon ang New York Times Square para sa natatanging art na mapapanood mula sa digital billboard nito. Nagmukha pong isang malaking art gallery ang New York Times Square dahil sa iba't ibang makukulay na digital art. Matapos ito ay binansagan ang lugar at ang event na world's largest and longest-running digital art exhibition. Kaabang-abang sa mga ito ay ilan sa mga entry ng mga artists na siyang magbibigay kulay para sa mga taong namamasyal. Inaasahan naman ng mga organizers na mula sa digital art project ay tumaas ang bilang ng mga turista. At akalain nyo, weekend na naman. Kaya sana, Nina, happy weekend.
Happy weekend sa iyo at sa kanila rin.
At we hope po na kayo ay magkaroon ng blessed and meaningful weekend with you and your loved ones. And speaking of loved ones, isa nanonood sa atin lagi-lagi at nagpapagaling ngayong weekend, si Daddy Nick Kwek. Hello, Daddy. At
hello
ayan,
po.
Lagi siyang top fan natin.
Ayan. Thank you so much.
So I hope we all get to enjoy this weekend with your loved ones. At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita sa amang dako na mundo. Happy weekend again, everybody. Ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alago Flores sa bumabati rin ng happy weekend po sa inyong lahat. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para sa mga balitang nangyari sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. In a major development in the war in the Middle East, Israeli forces have eliminated Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar.
The axis of terror that was built by Iran is collapsing before our eyes. Nasrallah is gone. His deputy Muhsin is gone. Haniyeh is gone. Def is gone. Sinwar is gone. The reign of terror that the Iranian regime has imposed on its own people and on the peoples of Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, this too will come to an end.
Good day for the world. I'm called Netanyahu to congratulate you getting Sinwar. We have a lot of pleasant fans. And further that, now's the time to move on. Move toward a ceasefire in Gaza.
And justice has been served. And the United States, Israel, and the entire world are better off as a result. This moment gives us an opportunity to finally end the war in Gaza. And it must end such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released.
And the news starts now. In a major development in the war in the Middle East, Israeli forces have eliminated Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Sinwar was the chief planner behind the deadly October 7th attack, and his removal has been a key objective for Israel in their conflict with Hamas. After believed to be hiding deep in Gaza's tunnels, Sinwar was spotted by an Israeli drone 24 hours ago following a firefight, and he was located on the third floor of a residential building. Shortly after, an Israeli sniper took him out while he sat amid the debris.
Hezbollah vowed to escalate its war against Israel Friday after the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. According to Israel, Sinwar was killed by Israeli troops in a gun battle in southern Gaza on Wednesday. The killing of Sinwar is a pivotal event in the year-long conflict. He was the mastermind of the October 7th, 2023 attack that triggered the Gaza war. And he was named Hamas's overall leader after the killing of political chief Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran in July. The Israeli military released drone video of what it said was Sinwar sitting on an armchair and covered in dust inside a destroyed building. Reuters has verified the location, but not the date of the video. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said after Sinwar's death, this was the beginning of the end of the war in Gaza.
To the people of Gaza, I have a simple message. This war can end tomorrow. It can end if Hamas lays down its arms and returns our hostages. The axis of terror that was built by Iran is collapsing before our eyes. Nasrallah is gone. His deputy Muhsin is gone. Haniyeh is gone. Def is gone. Sinwar is gone. The reign of terror that the Iranian regime has imposed on its own people and on the peoples of Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, this too will come to an end.
As you saw from our readout earlier today, Secretary Austin spoke earlier today with Israeli Minister of Defense Gallant to discuss the reports on the killing of Sinwar and to get an update. The short answer is no, this was an Israeli operation. U.S. forces were not directly involved. Again, as we've highlighted, we've had a small number of special operations forces that have been advising the Israelis on hostage recovery efforts. And again, as the president's statement highlighted, that included working side by side with their Israeli counterparts to help locate and track Sinwar and other Hamas leaders hiding in Gaza who've been holding people, to include Americans, hostage since October 7 last year.
Families of the Israeli and foreign hostages still held in Gaza welcomed the news about Sinwar, but repeated their call for a deal to bring the hostages home.
This is a critical, time-sensitive development as it relates to the hostages. Their lives are in great danger now, more than ever.
Sinwar, who was described as a major obstacle to a deal, is no longer alive. It is critical that all attention is focused now on achieving the goal of the deal, which will secure the release of our son Omer and the rest of the hostages.
Meanwhile, Lebanon's Hezbollah and Iran remained defiant. Iran's mission to the UN said the spirit of resistance will be strengthened after Sinwar's death. In a phone call to Netanyahu, U.S. President Joe Biden said Sinwar's death could be the chance for the conflict in Gaza to finally end and for Israeli hostages to be brought home.
It's a good day for the world. I'm so pleased now to congratulate you getting Sinwar. He had a lot of blood in his hands. American blood, Israeli blood, and others. And I told him that we were really pleased with his actions. And further that now's the time to move on. Move toward a ceasefire in Gaza. Make sure that we move in the direction that we're going to be in a position to make things better for the whole world. It's time for this war to end and bring these hostages home.
U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller called Sinwar the chief obstacle to ending the war. In a news briefing, he said the U.S. wants to kickstart talks on a proposal to achieve a ceasefire and secure the release of hostages.
What we would hope is that whoever the next leader of Hamas is, he will look at what has happened over the past year and look at the suffering that Hamas's actions have brought upon the Palestinian people who they aim to represent, whose cause they aim to advance, and will look and decide that they ought to pursue a different path forward. They ought to pursue a path that isn't one of death and destruction and chaos and harm to Israeli civilians and harm to Palestinian civilians.
Meanwhile, Washington also reiterated calls for a political solution in Gaza. and for Israel to not just continue military operations that they will have to repeat over and over again.
Meanwhile, Middle East security expert Jonathan Lord stated that the death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar might provide an off-ramp to the current crisis.
In the summer, this past summer, it became official that he became Hamas's head upon the death of Ismail Haniyeh, who was allegedly assassinated in Tehran by the Israelis. Sinwar was very much an opponent and an obstacle to reaching a ceasefire deal that would release the remaining 101 hostages in exchange for either a temporary or a full cessation to the conflict in Gaza. Now that he's dead, new leadership might see the conflict in a different way and take this opportunity to change course. So it is quite possible that we take this moment as an inflection point where there's an off-ramp to the conflict. Many are hopeful that with Sinwar out of the way, new leadership is going to want to find a way to end this conflict, and that means releasing the hostages potentially in exchange for an end to the war. So it will depend on who rises in place of Sinwar. And then, of course, on the Israeli side, this isn't a sure bet either. Currently, the Israeli government in charge, Netanyahu's government, is largely skeptical that a hostage deal that ends the conflict is in the interest of Israel from a security perspective, for the security hawks, and for the ideologues in Netanyahu's government, who their ultimate goal is to see the reoccupation and resettlement of Gaza. While he remains largely unpopular, his popularity is beginning to climb. And he has actually been successful in bolstering the strength of his governing coalition with the inclusion of another right-wing politician, Gideon Sa'ar. So I can expect that this will continue to be something that he plays on about the success that he has had in leading Israel through this crisis.
Now, Yahya Sinwar is dead, and while Israel is celebrating, tensions in the Middle East remain high. The United States has also escalated its actions in the region, targeting the Houthi rebel group in Yemen, an Iranian-backed faction within Tehran's so-called Axis of Resistance, which Israel calls the Axis of Evil. Though the Houthis are not a major force in the broader Middle East conflict, they play a key role in disrupting international trade, especially by attacking ships in the Red Sea. Recently, the Houthis launched 2 military operations. One of these targeted the American oil tanker Olympic Spirit in the Red Sea, using 11 ballistic missiles and 2 drones, resulting in a significant damage. A Houthi spokesperson confirmed this attack, which is part of a series of similar assaults they've been carrying out since November. In response, the U.S. deployed one of its most advanced weapons, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. And this aircraft, virtually undetectable, has never been targeted by adversaries and often strikes without being spotted. The U.S. used the B-2 to hit 5 Houthi weapons depots, which were fortified and buried underground. These depots did not hold any particularly valuable munitions, but the decision to use the B-2 sends a clear message.
U.S. military forces, including U.S. Air Force B-2 bombers, conducted precision strikes against 5 hardened underground weapons storage locations in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. U.S. forces targeted several of the Houthis' underground facilities, housing various weapons components of the types the Houthis have used to target civilian and military vessels throughout the region. As Secretary Austin highlighted in his statement last night, the employment of the B-2 bomber was a unique demonstration of the United States' ability to target facilities that our adversaries seek to keep out of reach, no matter how deeply buried underground, hardened, or fortified. And it demonstrates U.S. global strike capabilities to take action against these targets when necessary, anytime, anywhere. It also sends a clear message to the Houthis that there will continue to be consequences for their illegal and reckless attacks, which put innocent civilian lives and U.S. and partner forces' lives at risk.
The B-2, which can carry an array of bombs, including the massive MOAB, also known as the mother of all bombs, is designed for such missions. With a destructive force equivalent to 18,000 pounds of TNT, the MOAB is one of the most powerful non-nuclear weapons in the U.S. arsenal. The real target of this show of force, however, was not just the Houthis, but Iran, which has been increasingly vocal in its threats. Earlier this month, Iran launched 200 missiles at Israel and has since warned against any Israeli retaliation. Iranian military leader Hossein Salami issued a direct threat.
به هر نقطه‌ای تجاوز کنید دردناک به همان نقطه از شما حمله خواهد شد.
Despite these warnings, Israel appears to be planning retaliatory strikes, and the U.S. has been urging them to limit their targets to Iranian military facilities, avoiding nuclear or oil infrastructure. And this agreement is likely the best outcome President Joe Biden can negotiate with the Israeli leadership. To prevent an escalation, the U.S. likely unleashed the B-2 as a show of strength, signaling that it's ready to act if Iran retaliates. The Russian Foreign Ministry has warned that any deployment of U.S. nuclear weapons to Japan as part of an Asian NATO could lead to a collapse in regional stability. Spokeswoman Maria Zakharova made a statement today.
Ну, вообще в Японии просчитывают на хотя бы один шаг вперед, на пол. В общем, представляют, что будет в регионе, если американцы еще и в Японии разместят свое ядерное оружие.
New Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has outlined a plan to restructure Japan's alliance with Washington, which includes forming an Asian NATO and stationing Japanese troops on U.S. soil.
現実的な国益を踏まえました外交によりまして、日米同盟を基軸に友好国、同志国の輪を広げ、外交力、防衛力の両輪で我が国の平和、地域の安定を実現いたしてまいります。
Ishiba suggested that the new security alliance could even share control of U.S. nuclear weapons as a deterrent against Japan's nuclear-armed neighbors. Zakharova emphasized the potential negative consequences of such moves, stating,
Задаются вопросом, а это приведет к чему? А. Неправильный ответ к большей безопасности. И Б. Правильный ответ к обрушению какой-либо стабильности в и так многострадальном регионе.
Although Japan is not immediately pursuing this proposal, as India and the United States have raised differing concerns, Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya has indicated that it's one idea for the future.
To the war in Europe, at a press conference in Brussels, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky shed light on his September meeting with former U.S. President Donald Trump in New York. Now, Zelensky revealed that he had discussed Ukraine's NATO aspirations with Trump, who reportedly concurred with the Ukrainian leader's reasoning. Zelensky elaborated on the conversation. The Ukrainian president also touched upon Ukraine's past experience with the Budapest Memorandum. This 1994 agreement saw Ukraine relinquish its nuclear arsenal in exchange for security assurances from Britain, Russia, and the United States.
I think Budapest Memorandum is a very illustrative example. We had Budapest Memorandum. There were nuclear countries, part of that, the biggest countries that have influence, that have nuclear weapons. Among these countries, of course, China, United States of America, Russia, France, of course, big players on the that have nuclear potential. Why with them? We have negotiated to actually give up our nuclear weapons, a big volume of nuclear weapons that we had at that time, to give it away, and in return to have that document. So all the partners who are partners of that document, they guarantee territorial integrity and sovereignty to independent Ukraine in internationally recognized borders. It's signed in 1991. So that was the document. And if Russia violated that document, although Russia was part of the partners, of the guarantor country, how can you at all take it serious? How can you believe to these partners who actually promised to us that they will stand up for our sovereignty and territorial integrity? And the answer is very simple. Does it work? No. This document didn't work. If agreements of other partners with Russia worked, nothing works. So it was not only Ukraine with Russia, it was Ukraine with other partners as well. So all these agreements failed. So all these nuclear countries, which country out of all those nuclear, which countries? None but Ukraine. Which country sacrificed nuclear weapons? All of them? No, only Ukraine. And who is fighting today? Only Ukraine. That is why, that is the fact. And in my conversation with Donald Trump, I said, this is the fact. So what's the way out? Either we resume having nuclear weapons, and then it will become a certain protection for us, or we should have a certain alliance. Apart from NATO, we don't know efficient alliances anymore. The countries of NATO are not in any war. They are not fighting. Members of NATO countries. That is why we choose NATO. We are not choosing nuclear weapons, we are choosing NATO.
During their New York meeting, Trump had expressed his intention to work towards ending the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. And this discussion between Zelensky and Trump underscores the ongoing debate about Ukraine's security arrangements and its potential future within NATO. And the news continues here on NET25 World News. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Dahil walang hinto ang balita.
Financial straits.
Mata ng Agila Weekend tuwing Sabado, alas 4 ng hapon. Ito ang NET25. Matatag, matapag, matapak.
Let's net together sa NET25. Sa NET25.
At a charity gala in New York City, Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump delivered a speech that blended humor with political jabs, touching on his legal challenges while taking aim at his Democratic rival Kamala Harris and the city's embattled mayor Eric Adams.
It's a true pleasure to be with you this evening. Amazing pleasure. And these days it's really a pleasure anywhere in New York without a subpoena for my appearance. Anytime I don't get a subpoena, I'm very happy. They've gone after me, Mr. Mayor. You're peanuts compared to what they've done to me. And you're going to be okay. Tradition holds that I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. There's nothing to say. I guess I just don't see the point of taking shots at myself when other people have been shooting at me for a hell of a long time and they shoot.
Historically, it's been a platform for candidates to engage in good-natured self-depreciation and gentle ribbing of opponents. Notably absent from the gathering was Vice President Kamala Harris, the first major party presidential candidate to skip the event since Democrat Walter Mondale in 1984. Instead, Harris opted to campaign in the key battleground state of Wisconsin.
19 days. So we are entering the home stretch. And this is going to be a tight race until the very end. Look, we are the underdog, and that's why we are, and I am campaigning to earn every single vote, because I intend to be a president for all Americans.
China's economic growth slowed in the third quarter, marking its weakest pace since early 2023, while recent consumption and industrial output figures exceeded expectations. The struggling property sector continues to pose a significant hurdle for Beijing's efforts to stimulate growth.
China's wobbly economic recovery just got a little more uncertain. Figures out Friday showed growth falling to its slowest pace since early last year. The world's second largest economy grew 4.6% over July to September, a little better than forecast, but still down on the previous quarter. Property remains among the big problems. The real estate sector has been in crisis for years, with big developers weighed down by debts and struggling to complete apartments. Other numbers out Friday showed home prices falling at their fastest pace since 2015. Policymakers have announced a series of stimulus measures in response.
是年底前将白名单项目的信贷规模
The latest came a day earlier, with promises of more support for the property sector. But many investors say China's focus on boosting infrastructure and manufacturing is no longer enough. They want to see measures to stimulate consumption and warn the country will struggle to hit this year's 5% growth target without major action. Speaking to Reuters on Thursday, International Monetary Fund Chief Kristalina Georgieva added to calls for change.
We did some analysis on what would happen if China undertakes structural reforms. Well, that can lift up China's medium-term growth quite significantly. Otherwise, they risk to fall below 4%. And that is going to be very difficult for China. It's going to be very difficult also from a social standpoint.
Last week, China's finance minister promised to significantly increase debt to help drive growth. But he left investors guessing on the size and detail of any new package. Local media reports later claimed that Beijing would raise around $850 billion through new bonds to fund fiscal stimulus. China's blue-chip stock index initially fell following Friday's numbers, but later reversed course to gain over 3%. The jump came after the country's central bank launched two schemes to pump money into equities. It said that was meant to aid the steady development of capital markets.
Independent filmmakers take center stage at the International Film Awards in Manhattan, highlighting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. Entries from countries like the Czech Republic, Italy, Portugal, the United States, and the Philippines are showcased. In New York, NET25's Joanne Soriano brings us the story. Joanne.
The International Film Festival in Manhattan, now in its 14th year, kicks off 3 days of screenings at the Look Dine-In Cinemas here on West 57th Street in New York City.
The festival spotlights short films and documentaries by indie filmmakers.
In fact, this year, we only have indie filmmakers. A lot of them this is their first chance to be in a film festival, and it's international as well. So I'm very grateful of everybody who flew in.
The films had representatives from countries such as the Czech Republic, Australia, Italy, Portugal, the US, and the Philippines. Queen's Assembly member Stephen Raga has supported this festival for the past few years.
Every film that involves other cultures and heritages and stories, narratives from around the globe, we get to see it firsthand here.
The themes for this year's short films came from the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations.
We want to be significant and important also, not only showing entertainment, but we want to be a film festival that has a heart that actually shows that we care about our earth and our fellow human beings.
The awards ceremony celebrated the accomplishments of every facet of filmmaking. For Kay Kunanan, who traveled from the Philippines for the festival, and whose film Jiro won Best Student Film, it was an experience that she will never forget.
It's actually very exciting and very much the one thing we've been waiting for a long time. And we're grateful and happy, and we would cry.
MJ Ricardio received a Junior Lifetime Achievement Award for his work in public relations, marketing, and as a recording artist.
Well, I am honored and grateful, and of course I thank our Almighty God for giving me all the wisdom and knowledge, because without Him I can't do anything that I'm doing now.
Actor and mixed martial artist Roma Labanan attended the film festival and looks forward to competing in the future.
Oh my God, it's so inspirational. I mean, you know, as a former athlete, I mean, it's all about winning and it's all about like a trophy. So I saw the trophies and I'm like, I'm looking forward to either being a winner as an actor or a filmmaker in the future.
The film festival will continue their programming November 14th through 20th online and will showcase different feature-length films. Keep a close watch on these up-and-coming talents and filmmakers to see what they come up with next. Joanne Soriano, New York, for NET25 World News.
And let's now dive into how big tech is embracing a new power source, nuclear energy. No, they're not building weapons. Instead, Silicon Valley is turning to nuclear power to fuel their massive artificial intelligence projects. AI requires a tremendous amount of energy, and companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are facing challenges in meeting these demands while adhering to their environmental goals. As a solution, they are exploring nuclear energy to maintain their green credentials while keeping AI running smoothly. Although nuclear power has long been linked with accidents and disaster, big tech sees its potential for providing consistent, clean energy. Microsoft, for example, is breathing new life into the reactor at 3 Mile Island, the site of a major U.S. nuclear incident, to power future data centers. Meanwhile, Google is investing in smaller modular nuclear reactors that are designed to be safer. And Amazon has partnered with Dominion Energy to construct a reactor in Virginia for its data operations. These data centers are essential for AI advancements, but are also huge consumers of electricity. By 2030, they could account for 9% of total electricity use in the U.S. Despite pledges to be carbon neutral by 2030, big tech's carbon emissions have continued to rise, making nuclear power an attractive option. However, there are still obstacles to overcome, including public concerns about safety, regulations, and nuclear energy stigma. As AI continues to evolve, nuclear power may be a critical factor in supporting the growing energy demands, but only time will tell if this strategy proves successful. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Have a great weekend. Good night.